Yeah. Where's the chat? Okay. Mike got the document out. So, welcome everybody. On the agenda, it says victory lap, which that seems appropriate. In as few words, it was probably a success on just about every metric. I had collected the count numbers, and there were some variations that I really couldn't account for between the Sunday after astronomy at the beach, and then last Sunday I also went back and counted. So these were like in the past week. So if you're watching video, the first three columns have got basically the Sunday immediately after the event, and then the next three columns are the views that I saw last Sunday, just to go through. And in general, of course, we're seeing a big peak the day of the event, or the days of the events, and then afterwards it sort of petered out. There were a lot of stats that you could collect for the event, for like in here, for those viewing, there's like peak concurrent viewers, average durations, all kinds of stuff like that. And some of those are available after the fact, but most of them are like live stats. So I didn't really collect those last Sunday. I just went for the number of views, the number of likes we picked up, and the number of comments we picked up. So, and I think the comments might have been in correction. I'm not sure you can actually, no, you can comment, you can't leave messages. That's the thing. We collected messages for on that Sunday, so the chat messages, to see how many people were using, and events like Jeff Stark and Flint saw a ton of interactive messages. Don Swetzig's his live EAA session was very chatty, so that kind of gave you an idea of how much interaction was going on, and that was in YouTube. And some of them had zero, so that was fine too, or minimal comments. I did find a problem with Doug Bach's Saturday session, and it was the URLs that we had on the website were actually the same for Friday and Saturday. So Saturday he didn't get any activity from the website, but he still got 33 or 58 views just on his own. So, and the fact that it was cloudy out is like, I guess it must have been his own, his own following, which I know Doug has got his own things going too. So.
Jeff, we had the 4 p.m. Paul Goltz on Saturday. We had the same problem with when we
Really?
when we went live. We just got a recording of the previous day's presentation, and I think Bob helped us get that resolved. I don't know what he did, but
he probably changed this URL.
Yes, I think he gave us a new URL. It took about 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Still, we're very successful.
TSA. Yeah, he must have put it in because I got the same URL for both of them. Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate, but I'm glad it worked out.
Oh, it worked out nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, that was some of the.
It worked out. We couldn't see the sun because of the clouds, but
yeah,
we had a nice talk, and we
got it straightened out. We did. Brian collected some comments, and I'm going to bring up his email now. Well, yeah, this is what he came up with. This is the email comments. I'll go to the SurveyMonkey window next. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
And I'll just read those for the people who are on phones and stuff. But he basically said the overall response was very positive. They liked the wide mix of presentations, and of course the live telescope viewing everybody loved. The stats prove that beyond any doubt. They were frustrated by some technical glitches that we had, overlapping sessions, little glitches like this, but frankly, given the scope of everything, we generally got comments that were like, wow, I can't even believe you pulled it off. So that was positive. I expect some technical stuff in anything this complex. So I thought Saturday went almost flawlessly. That was spectacular compared to Friday. So our little meeting beforehand, some learning, some planning, and a little less hectic schedule seemed to really bring things together. They like the presentations that move along quickly and where the technology explained in simple terms. So basically, that says to me that we have to keep an eye on, going to the general public and not getting too crazy scientific or lengthy. And they says, even if it's normal next year, I'd like to see some online components to the thing. That was my feeling. We've kind of opened that can of worms, and no matter what, there'll probably be some stuff online. It'd be nice if we're doing stuff in a telescope field. I can see getting with the phone companies and AT&T, Verizon, whatever, to see what they might be able to put forward for, hey, we need a 2-day hotspot, and it needs to carry a significant bandwidth to do video. And they might, I can see where they might be able to do something for us there, or even at a reasonable rate for that matter. So we only need it for 2 days. And then, yeah, and Brian put in the caveat everywhere that these results were kind of skewed to friendly insiders, club members, etc., people that were relatively experienced. Now, he did pull out some simple stats, which I don't know if, I find these a little hard to read because they're so tiny, even on my screen. Yours is probably impossible, but basically the remote viewing, the David Levy poetry, the binocular viewing was remarkably popular. And, there were lots of remote viewing and H-alpha stuff that was really popular. This was Saturdays. And the Brother Guy was very popular indeed. I think those got sent out in email, and I don't recall. Oh, crud. Did you pre-recorded? Pre-recorded didn't go over so well, but they're there as a resource. I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet whenever my Zoom menu clears out. Come on, there we go. And just to go over these real quick, this is sorted by those views again. And you see overwhelmingly, I mean, Brother Guy is there, but overwhelmingly everything is pretty much the 2 big headliner or 3 big headliners, binocular, all the live stuff is all in our top 10 or 15 here. So surprisingly, the H-alpha, this was one stat that I was talking to guys earlier. This one, the views since the event was very high, as well as Brother Guy's.
Yes.
Those were pretty surprising that, continuing are continuing to go back at those and view those. So that means we are getting some web activity and some people looking at stuff. So I thought there was one other stat that looked, oh yeah, Doug Bach, which I think Doug has got his own private viewing club. They seem to get good activity and hits no matter what. So this window placement is not ideal there. Okay, I had minutes. That was things that went well. I had basically some pluses and minuses in a debrief document. I'm kind of winging this, but we kind of went through the successes here. So I'm going to say this is, maybe what's wrong. The things that I was just jotting stuff down as we went through the event. And some of this is how we organize the licenses and with the Zoom licenses with the YouTube channels. It was obviously, we can't back up the events, back to back. That was a disaster. And I think I have an item in here later. I'm sure I'll get to it. But making sure those Zoom licenses and the channels match up so that we don't have to worry about which one we're going to, and there's fewer variables. So I think in scheduling which one goes with which, if we do this again, that's going to be a lot more organized next time around. And I got it in my head what we need to do. And I'm going to, after all the dust settles here in November, December, when it gets quiet, I'm going to work out what we should have done schedule-wise and license-wise. And it might be that we need to buy one extra license, but for $15. Uh-oh. Are you all still there? Cancel.
Yeah. I'm here.
I'm here.
Oh, I just got a message on my Mac saying a bunch of stuff was going to stop. And it's like, no. Please don't reboot. Okay.
Well, if your Mac reboots, then the meeting is over.
Well, it asked me if I wanted to leave. It's like, no, keep it going. Okay, let's get back to that. I did get a comment from a Dave New. I don't know who that is, but they said this Taper DCC, and I looked them up, but they ran into the same Zoom licensing issues that we did. And apparently they did a big conference, and they were more blindsided than we were. We didn't realize the back-to-back scheduling was going to be a problem, but they didn't realize that, and I guess it was a real issue. I think I went over some of this. Can you guys all see this document?
Yes. I can see
Okay.
it.
Just making sure, because sometimes my screen's wider than it should be. I was going to say the 15-minute or 10-minute granularity we could do in our grid. So like right now we have this nice schedule grid was easy to read, but we only went by an hour, and sometimes we just didn't have enough space to put stuff. And my thought was if we went, like a 10-minute granularity, we could put all the links, all the stuff you ever needed, so everything could be on this one page. So there's not this flipping around to different columns and all this other nonsense. That was my comment there, because our tools were a little crazy.
Yeah, I found it a little difficult to navigate.
Yeah, it's one of those live and learn things,
Yeah, but it was a beautiful job, though. Good job, Bob.
Yeah, we got positive comments on the web from how generally it was pretty easy to go through. I'm not sure. I like the mini schedule myself. I thought that was really useful. That was kind of touch and go. I don't know what I did to erase number 3 here. Maybe I put in an extra one. Good.
Visitor survey results.
No, I'm looking at my debrief document, actually.
Oh, okay.
One thing we didn't have enough for was having basically a host and that had permissions, like basically a license holder, and I guess a moderator or whatever. I had assumed that things were people, once they got rolling, we could bow out, but it turns out having a moderator there helped the entire process. It made all of the confusion go away. And when all moderators weren't present, that's when things went off the rails. So that's one thing we just got to plan on, having the extra person there. Alternate host. Yeah, the alternate host feature is flaky.
Yes.
And I think by organizing our licenses and hosts and everything appropriately, I'm going to do, if we do it next year, I keep saying if, but when we do that, I'm going to make up email addresses to assign to each channel. So everybody will know the password. So no matter who you are, you'll be able to log into that license, use it as a resource, and forget about it. Because we found places where a license holder was the only person that could assign co-hosts or start the streaming and stuff. So that was a problem in some areas where things were backed up. We had some last minute events that caused a lot of headaches. And I would say next year we should lock everything down a week before, for Bob's sake and the website, for the scheduling grids, for letting people know, what they're at. All that stuff kind of throws a wrench into the works. And I was saying 30 to 60 minutes between the events if you're in the same channel and license. That allows for overruns, people being late to start, all that kind of stuff. So it gives us a lot more leeway. And I would say minimum of 30, 60 would be nice, but maybe the schedule doesn't make that happen. Yeah, presenters, 15 minutes. We suggested that. It sort of worked out most of the time. Sometimes it didn't. Yeah, I think we were doing that pretty well. Ended session, host should encourage likes, comments, and to take the survey. I don't recall, I have a link to get to the survey for Brian's section. And like I said before, whenever we had a moderator that was engaged in all that, the duration of view times was generally up for those, and the number of chat messages, likes, all that kind of stuff. So it really does invigorate everything.
Jeff,
Yeah.
regarding the survey,
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 negative comments from people who are well versed in surveys, and they didn't think much of the way the survey was constructed. That that the survey actually didn't really extract information that was would be truly relevant and useful to us, and that the survey um, was too was too leading in terms of asking people for categorized opinions rather than comments and information. And we can get into that later, but well, I think we could use a better survey.
Yeah, I got a section for Brian, and I think we can probably dive into more detail on that. But I did read through a couple of comments that were basically the gist of what you're saying. So, but on the other hand, we did that a week before the event. So
Yeah.
perhaps including that earlier in the planning will solve some of those problems. We can do some test runs and things like that. So. The other thing that I found out on Friday evening was that YouTube has an auto start and auto stop feature. And if you enable these things when we set up the YouTube events, it enables us to basically, when we say live, to go live with the streaming in Zoom, it'll automatically do all the start stop stuff in YouTube. And there's none of the YouTube crap that we even need to deal with. It just can go on invisibly in the background. And I think for the way that we had things arranged, that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
I used it on my orange can stuff, figuring that I can get in there and fix it if it doesn't work. And frankly, it worked like a charm. You have to make sure you start the live streaming maybe a minute or two before you actually start. But aside from that, it worked brilliantly. And like, yeah, we made things a lot more complicated than we had to. And then in my to-do, I just had some of the suggestions that were down here from our Saturday meeting. I had to put them someplace, so I left them there. Was there anything else that was like, I mean, this covers a lot of ground, but were there other items that I didn't see? Because this is what I jotted down for my own viewing, but I didn't know if others had things that they noticed. Now everybody's thinking back.
I've looked mostly at the information that was provided, by Brian and,
Okay.
and you, Jeff, without reflecting too deeply on what to do differently.
Okay.
It's kind of waiting for a group discussion on that. My opinion of the event was that, first of all, we pulled it off, which I find certainly not remarkable, but admirable. And my main concern when we got into this business with the having to go with this online event was that we have something credible, representative of the energy and the continuity of the astronomy at the beach. Hoping that very much that we would not have to do this again. So, hooray for us.
Yeah. We got some I don't know if that went to the board or not. The lowbrow president and board, they basically sent off a nice message as well. I guess we got a few of those Ba, 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 ba. And I can't find it. Congratulations are in order. I think this is it. Nope, that's Adrian's. Yeah.
Well, we did. I mean, it was
Anyway,
there was I think, you know, among most of the people in the clubs, there was fairly broad recognition that it was a a job done and well done. The big peril this year was not having any astronomy at the beach.
yeah,
And I think you know, because of the group that we have here, well, I think we've definitely become a stronger and better organized organization.
yeah,
I think the last year when we, of course, last January when we first met, the big issue was, you know, filling the seats and having continuity, and we took care of that rather promptly. And then having volunteered ourselves for this service, thinking that we were going to put on a nice, comfortable, business as usual astronomy at the beach, we got into this you know, inventing the wheel. I don't think
yeah.
I don't think anyone can really criticize the event in any meaningful aspect at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally is like I was so pleased to see. I mean, I've been in nonprofits and volunteer organizations in various capacities before, and it was very pleasing to see that, you know, everyone pulled in and helped. There was no uh, I guess rivalries going on. It was everybody says we got to make this happen, make it work, and I think we worked as a team really well. The email that I have up now is for the benefit of the non-lowbrow folks. Basically, it's from one of our VPs, Jim Forrester. He says, basically, thanks to everyone who worked at AATB. And many lowbrows worked hard to put on this weekend's virtual astronomy at the breach, at the beach, and they deserve our thanks. Adrian, Brian, Jeff, John put in many hours together, fine remote program, and went on to organizing meetings, representatives of other clubs in the dead of winter when the pandemic hit, quickly pivoting to an all online program, including nationally regarded speakers, the best of local Southeastern Michigan talent, and remote visual observing. And listed Ani, Don, Doug Bach, myself, and Brian for putting views of their scopes online. And of course, they gave the link to all the stuff in the YouTube videos, and many thanks. And if we missed anybody, pass it on.
Well, one thing that certainly helped us among the lowbrows is at almost every one of our meetings, we had some comment or update on the Great Lakes Association of Astronomy Clubs. I'm trying to remember I should. This is very impolite for me not to remember him, but we've had there's a member of the lowbrows who's been a long-standing officer in the GLAAC, and he had to drop out, but he's always kept us informed, and I think that's one thing that we probably should try to promote in future, is making sure that all the clubs in their monthly meetings and in their communications are aware of GLAAC and what we're doing.
Yeah, and that's probably a good thing to, you know, for each of the member clubs. If we have, you know, membership on the board, make sure the word gets out to them. But as soon as we get a date for the next for 2021, then, you know, that's a key that we can start pushing. Is like, hey, we made this announcement, and maybe, you know, in every monthly club meeting, just to make an announcement of what's going on this month in GLAAC, to just bring up the general presence, I think. Yeah, and as far as the kudos, Brian also added, he said thanks for the thing. We had critical help from the Warren Club, and especially Bob Tremblay, who created 100 pages of content. The Ford Club with Tim Campbell, Leon Finn, and others. and it basically is a more kudos for being a collaborative experience, which I think so. That worked well. Anyway, those are some of the comments that I saw. I think I have the survey up here. So these were some of the comments. Did you guys all get a chance to look at that or not?
Yes.
Okay.
At
And
least I did at least.
maybe I'll let Brian take over some of the things there, since you can talk about it a bit more. Is that correct, Brian? I don't know how remote you are.
But I'm up here in the boondocks, literally boondocks, with Doug Bach at his observatory up near Cadillac. So I can't see the screen, but I know the survey. So first of all, we got a 4.3 out of 5 stars, and that's great. So people loved it. We got great response. So that's it. I don't want to go through all the details. Everybody can go through the details on their own. And so it's very positive. People gave some very insightful comments about, you know, what we did well, what we could do better. They told us what they saw, which sessions they attended. And so there are good constructive criticisms, but it's mostly, you know, positive. So that's the overall umbrella I want to say, is that the survey is positive. That's good. So now a couple things that aren't as wonderful, and I appreciate it that John, that the survey was not a great survey. I have to agree with that. It's something I didn't get into until the Wednesday before. So yeah, I did put it together quickly. It would have benefited from all of us kind of looking at it and getting our minds together on it and critiquing it. And so I definitely agree. It's not my best work. And I want to ask you about it, but I want to complete what I have to say before I ask you a question about more detail. The other thing about the survey is, you know, we didn't have a method for people to take it. We didn't have it as, you know, ideally, right? You'd want every single person who came to the event to take the survey, or at least see how to get access to the link, right? And it wasn't there. You know, the link. The link wasn't up until Saturday. Even if it had been up on Friday. Yeah, we would have gotten a few more, but so that's just something that needs to be better next time, is make sure everybody fills it out. And because it wasn't so obvious in how to take it, it's quite a biased survey, because I feel that we didn't have just insiders at Astronomy at the Beach.
True.
Our average age of viewers at Astronomy at the Beach wasn't 62 years old.
What makes you say that number, Brian?
Well, if you look at the survey, over 50% of the viewers were 65 or older. Okay, so the average, is above 60s. So yeah, we got insiders, people who care. We got experts. We got club members, and it's great. So that's just something to keep in mind. We don't have a lot of data from John Q. Public, or if we had families, and so that's just an unknown. Is you know, what did the newbies think? So that's another.
Was there something that, I mean, when you were going over the things initially, was there anything in particular that struck you as kind of like, I didn't see that coming from the survey responses anyway?
No, but you know, I've been doing various surveys, and Shannon has done some great surveys in past years, and we've gotten great responses. And then the Goodalls did a survey last year, and so based on everything I've seen, no, I didn't see anything that surprised me. No, it's very positive, and the comments they did have that were less than positive were pretty constructive. So, but I want to transition to ask John from the feedback he got as far as critiquing of the survey.
Well,
what was it? Because I was not able to be very granular in the survey, meaning if you saw Brian's live presentation on Saturday. Brian's Saturday presentation.
Well,
I wasn't able to get down to that level of granularity. So was that something that people were frustrated with, or perhaps you could help me on, you know, what people were the survey?
well, first of all, the accessibility is very important, and yes, we need to do a better job of that. And the information that's gained was we should seek information about our the people who are responding more than about us. We have a pretty good idea about what we do. We should be trying to get more information about who's looking at us and how they feel about it. I think, you know, fundamentally in this kind of thing, if we're basically trying to improve our product here.
Yes.
And I think that has an awful lot to do with who our customers are. I think that, and I think really to be effective, to get more responses, the survey needs to be, you know, quite a bit shorter. It did go into, I think it did go into a little too much detail about things that people may not have particularly been interested in. The survey will really only be really successful if we get kind of a representative group of participants. And like you said, a lot of the survey was insiders, so, you know, who took the time to tell us about us rather than, and we know who they are already.
Yeah, so what I hear you say is that we could have done more in asking them what their unmet needs were and what they would like to see next time, or different content or things like that.
That kind of thing, yeah. What what
Is that
did you
maybe a way to
enjoy?
say unmet expectations, perhaps?
Unmet expectations. What did you? The most important thing to find out is, you know, what did you like? What did you like? Because people often, when they're challenged by a question of what did you not like, then they start to think, well, gosh, now I have to think up something that I didn't like. Whereas people are very responsive about what they liked.
Well, what they like was the second question, and the third question was what could we do better? And if you look through that, a lot of people couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah, exactly. They'll tell us, you know, what we, and I think what can we do better? That's baffling because basically a lot of people didn't know what we were doing. They got to see the events, but as far as the actual doing, that's behind the curtain. I imagine it baffled quite a few people who responded to the survey. I would leave out what was your least favorite, because that again, that prompts people to think of, well, you know, is there anything I didn't like? Now I have to categorize things. Gee, I like this guy really good. He was better than this other guy, but I hate to say that he's my least favorite because I still like him, you know, so.
Sure. Yep. I got it. Yeah.
I'm carrying on.
Actually, in going through the least favorite, a lot of them, and I don't want to say all of them, but I would say a good portion were technical issues, whether it was, you know, our fault behind the scenes, not starting on time, that kind of thing, or we had a couple of comments about fiddling with equipment while online. It's like, well, that second thing is, you know, things will go wrong with your equipment. I had issues on Saturday or Friday night and Saturday night. Or Saturday, oh, well, Friday, I guess it would have been. And the solar thing on Friday is like, I couldn't get the thing to align, so I had to make do. So there's a lot of extra fiddling that sometimes this is technology, it gets glitchy.
Well, real straightforward
well,
with customer surveys, you know, in retail and like that. Sometimes it's more effective to say what pissed you off, you know, because
yeah,
people have they'll have a positive experience, but then they'll have
Yes.
a waiter who continually says, "Oh, no problem," when they're thanked for something, and if you don't ask that question, what pissed you off, or what irritated you, then you won't get that piece of information, because that doesn't necessarily show up on things like least favorite. You want questions that don't require a whole hell of a lot of thought.
Yeah, I agree. Well, one thing we can do for next time is, I'll make sure that the survey is part of our planning process, at least 2 or 3 weeks away, so we all have a chance to contribute to it, to make it as the best it possibly can be, and to also make sure that we get it out there and get as many responses as we can.
Yeah.
I have that down in the minutes, so that is captured, that thought. So,
well, one thing
You,
that
you might you might actually want to start like a month in advance, asking what are actionable questions to ask.
exactly.
Because there's no point in asking a whole bunch of, did you like this? Did you like that question? If there isn't anything you can do about it after the fact.
right. Well, and part of it is, we have to have our lineup pretty well nailed down before you can start going into detail for a survey. But, the initial planning for the survey and all that, you have to include that as part of the plans instead of a, September 13th. Oh, yeah, we should do this.
Oh, yeah. And we got an awful lot of information from the data that you collated, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I do have one other question.
Sure.
How many humans experience astronomy at the beach?
There is an interesting stat on here, and it was this unique viewers column, and it's inconsistent. I couldn't get that for every one of them, but in here, let me get this so everyone can see it. One more, there we go. So in Brian's in one of our events, we had 198 views, but only 147 unique viewers. So that says to me that we had some views that came in twice, maybe they got disconnected and came in again. But this was the case where the unique viewers was always lower than the views. And I roughly want to say that that's a human count, but because of the inconsistency of the data, I really don't know. I was going to go back and basically check these ones in yellow, because they were at 0 or nothing. Is like I was going to go back and check those numbers to see if maybe that was a post-processing thing by YouTube that they didn't have an idea yet, or whatever the case might be. But there was a number of them. You can see there's a lot of yellow zeros in there. There was just no data. So, but
yeah, I don't think we know, but I don't know. If I look at it all, I'm saying maybe 1,000. Or am I being overly optimistic?
Well, it's hard to say too, because in any given time period, what was there? I mean, you may have 50 people connected at a given time, but are they 50 different people? And I honestly don't know.
And in some cases,
we don't know how many people came.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe and I had like 2 different sessions open at the same time. So in some cases, we're going to show up as 2 different viewers.
Right. Yeah, I had, I also, there's an additional page that the YouTube people sent to me, because I'm the owner of the channels. And for the ones that were really popular, I marked these in my inbox, actually. They were very flattering. This one here is like, they're talking about minutes watched, and this is basically a monthly thing for, significant watches. And those numbers look really great until you break it down to individual events. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, that's probably about right. But, some of these view counts, I'm not sure where they're getting them from, because I didn't get those stats. So I have to recollate my stuff to see, for a month to see, whether these match up and where they got the numbers. But there's, I think that one, and there is another one for the presentations category. So yeah, we have, some 13,000 minutes watched, and God knows.
Well,
But
you know,
it-
one thing, Jeff, every experienced YouTube presenter knows a very prominent part of the presentation, both at the beginning and at the end sometime, is not just an invitation, but almost an admonition to subscribe. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking over there, or you know,
Right.
please like, you know, to deliberately mention those things.
I
And,
did, I mean, on the sessions that I was hosting, I basically says, you know, make sure you visit the thing to do a like, any comments you have, any, you know, chat messages, and then to, you know, make a pitch for the survey and where to find it and whatnot. And I mean, there's probably a way we could put that, you know, after we stop the video. I think there's an end video thing, which we could probably put up a quick blurb that runs at the end of the video to go to this URL and, you know, find it and make that linkable and whatnot. So
and
that's
also to have them to make sure the presenters are well, you know, perhaps rehearsed in doing that.
right. Well, and be that should be part of the script.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say after. Yeah, next on the agenda is to basically take a look at the dates for 2021. Unless the people got more things to add. I'm kind of sensing a little bit of a downturn here, so.
No, nothing to add at this time, certainly.
Okay. Video or host. Okay. So moving on to the date for 2021. There's a bunch of email discussion, but I don't think any decision was actually made. The prospective weekends are October 10 and 11, which it does push us into October. I'm not sure why the September was bypassed. I didn't get a sense of that.
Aren't there some conflicting, I thought there were some conflicting events or occasions.
You have to work around Great Lakes Stargaze. And traditionally, Kensington didn't let us go into October. They closed the bathrooms. So I don't know what Island Lake will do.
Okay.
I do know the one year that we didn't have it in September, the park reported that a lot of people were asking about why wasn't it in September.
Okay. I don't have the email handy, but does anybody know why the October dates were pushed over the others? Was that you, Bob, that came up with those? So I know there was a moon chart that came with that email.
Yeah, I sent an email with a moon chart.
Okay.
Just working
Was there a
through,
reason that September wasn't included, or?
well, maybe I didn't do that because the only dates I talked about was September.
All three of these were October. That's why it was a little. Moon,
yeah, I was just mentioning observe the moon night is 16th, so it won't be the same.
Oh, okay.
There's,
I misread. Those are all October then.
Yeah, these are September dates.
Okay.
No, the moon there.
If I'd looked at a calendar, that might have made more sense. Okay. Then that's a correction. I didn't notice that. I just noticed the International Moon date, and I honed into October. My apologies on that. I think the consensus was saying, what was it, the 17th or the 10, 11,
Yeah.
24, 25?
Yeah, they were saying the 10th and 11th, and I thought that was a little too close to Labor Day. I thought we didn't do that, but that's fine.
Nobody made any decision. That's why we're.
No, there was dissenting opinion between whether to do it on the when the full moon was out versus when it wasn't.
Yeah.
And we had a passionate plea not to do it on the full moon. But Brian, your comments were valid too, and that the public didn't really care so much and they loved looking at the moon. So we're gonna have to deliberate about that some more.
First quarter moon is ideal.
Yeah.
And I'm in
But-
agreement with that. But it depends on if we can score the get everything done in time, because it's going to be earlier in September.
So in the past, one of the reasons to not have it on the weekend after Labor Day is that U of M and EMU's calendar was classes start on that Tuesday or Wednesday. And so those of us working at U of M or EMU were overwhelmed, and that's 3 different clubs. And
That's-
4 different clubs, because Wayne State also follows a similar calendar. And U of M Dearborn has said in the past they won't do it the weekend after classes start because that's just too much. And SAS pulled out over the argument over having it the weekend after Labor Day.
And it's the same story for public schools in my mailing list of hundreds of science teachers. They've only been in the classroom for a day a day. It's already too late for them to mention it, to have parents think about it, because, oh, it's this Friday. But if they don't get the word out until Thursday, it's the day before.
Yeah.
So we just aren't giving teachers enough time to get it out to their students and their parents if it's the weekend after Labor Day, because they don't usually start school until the day after Labor Day, right?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the U of M calendars. The U of M for 2021 is starting on the 30th of August.
Yeah.
So they will have, basically a week and a half worth of classes already. But like they say, Labor Day is the 6th, and to have something going on 10 and 11 is pretty tight.
So I check EMU's calendar, and are public schools allowed to start before Labor Day now? Because I know at one point
they're going for waivers.
Okay. So if
they're going for waivers and getting waivers.
If that's changed, then that weekend after Labor Day isn't so bad. I wouldn't do it Labor Day weekend, even if the park would allow that.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, because you'd be competing with the picnickers, basically.
Yeah. But I think the U of M calendar has changed so that I don't think it matters anymore if we do it the weekend after Labor Day. And EMU usually follows U of M's calendar. They did this year. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but...
Do you know what?
We don't really have much of a highly predictable schedule for next year in terms of how these various institutions will be functioning. There are going to be a lot of changes over the coming year in schedules and operations, in infrastructure, even depending upon the health situation. I think we should go for the most workable date for us. And I rather think that, later in September, as we did it this year, is quite good. Got an awful lot of moon, but then again, people like looking at the moon, and we do have some limb there for details. So I think the public's, if it's good weather, the public's going to show up. If it's out in the open, and if it's not good weather, we're skunked either way.
Yeah. Well,
I like the 24th and 5th myself, and the moon. Usually where I aim, the moon's not bothering me anyway.
That's a waning moon that weekend, isn't it?
Yes.
I have it up on screen share. Is that considered? I'm not.
Yeah, that's a
my
waning
camera.
gibbous.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
when-
that won't be up until late in the evening anyway.
Yes.
It says 10 p.m. in Bob's email.
That's moonrise, and a 10 p.m. moonrise is actually pretty good. Both for looking at the moon, considering the time of the year, and for everything else.
Well, and the other thing is that 10 p.m. rise, that means it's going to be, coming up in the east at that time, which still gives the DSO people, some time in not necessarily the eastern skies, but in western skies and away from that moon to get some time in. So it's not a horrible thing that it rises late.
The downside is you don't have kids able to look at the moon, and that's usually the easiest thing for young
Yep.
kids.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, when we've had the live events, 10 o'clock, there's still an awful lot of kids running around.
Yeah, but that's about 9:30, 10 is about the time that most of the young kids are leaving.
Well, the other person we probably have to talk to before we even decide on it is, what Island Lake, what their plans are for late
And
September.
I
Yep.
did, we did receive a communication from Bridget.
Was that in that email as well?
Yeah, she basically said, hey, we're not doing anything until like 3 months ahead.
Okay. Yep, 90 days out.
Now, I will say that, earlier, at this time of day, which, is going to be around 8 o'clock, things are going to be fairly viewable. And both Jupiter and Saturn are going to be up by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And Venus will be very bright in the west. And then you got, all the Scorpio and Sagittarius stuff out there. It's going to be a good, if the weather's clear, there's a lot to look at there.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to nail anything to the ground right now, but is it a good idea to try to start shooting for a date?
I think
Just
so.
for a PR standpoint at this point?
Well, I think so also from a PR standpoint and from the opportunity for people to look into these things and see how they're really going to feel about being out there or doing presentations under that sky. I think
Historically, we've always tried to announce the date for next year during the event,
yes,
but I'm not sure how much that actually affects participation the following year.
well, if we can get it out to the clubs and get it to the schools, school teachers,
Yeah.
and libraries, the earlier we can get that out, the better. I just feel like the 24th and the 25th are going to be quite good.
I prefer those days.
Does anybody got any objections to the 24, 25 or 24? Yeah, 24, 26. Great. I mean, do we have consensus just to decide that that's it? As a tentative target date, let's put it that way.
Well, I like it. I don't want to push anyone around. I like people to think about it and think about what's the best thing for the presentation and for our ability to get the show on the road.
Okay.
You could post it to groups.io as a poll of a thumbs up, thumbs down for the 24th and 25th and give people 1 week to respond.
I like that idea. I mean, that's a good place for the clubs to look as well.
Yeah, by 10, on those dates, by 10 o'clock, you got Jupiter and Saturn very high. You even have Neptune, and the moon is just coming up between 9 and 10. A lot to look at in the sky. If it's a good night, good heavens, you're going to have the Andromeda galaxy. Going to be wonderful stuff.
Okay, well, why don't we, as an action point, let's say we'll look at put out a poll to groups.io as Shannon suggested, I think that's an excellent idea. And get, a simple thumbs up, thumbs down for the September 24th, 25th. And, allow some comments. So if they don't like it, they can tell us about it. And if there's other dates, I don't even want to really mention those other dates as possibilities, just because you invite all kinds of crazy attitudes and opinions and you'll end up getting a weird thing. But I'd say a thumbs up, thumbs down with some comments. I don't know what Group IO does as far as options. Does that sound reasonable, Shannon?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it's like a yes, no type poll. It's been a long time since I did one.
Okay. Well, I'll look into that and try to get that out as soon as possible. We'll surely get some results for next month's meeting.
One of the other things is we have Rosh Hashanah on the 7th and Yom Kippur on the 15th. And so we stay well outside of those events also.
That's probably that's a good point, actually, by staying away from the holiday type events too. You're talking September, correct, John?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not that familiar with the Jewish calendar, so oops, wrong one. Still wrong one. Okay. Okay, then I'll put out a poll and I guess we can discuss it in more detail and whatnot later, but it looks like we're shooting for the 24-25 weekend.
Brian, what are your thoughts on that? Because you had mentioned the affinity of people for looking at the moon.
Well, yeah, in our survey, moon came up number 2 to planets. There's no satisfying answer, there's trade-offs.
Yeah. Welcome to the club.
You just have to say
No
it's
clear
all
answer.
good.
It's all good, yes. It's all good. If it's a clear night and there's telescopes, it's all good.
That's it.
Well, and I think our original premise when we all got together early in January is that, to simplify things, keep it focused on the telescopes. Frankly, all of our virtual data says that's what people like to see. So, and I thought about it later too, and I think it's because this is a piece of equipment that gives a view that not everybody sees every day. Not everybody has a telescope. They do have a computer. So having a live event, something like that, I think it does have its merits, and concentrating on that is probably a good idea.
Yeah, it's a unique experience for people.
Yes. That's the way to look at it, I think. And, if you're virtual, this is the best you can do. And I think we did do a bang up job of presenting that. I'd like to see, even more live events, but, we had 6. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I want to mention to Brian that I heard from two close friends who were watching at my behest, and they really admired Brian's viewing. They thought it was, enlightening and entertaining too. They just enjoyed the whole spending the time with you, Brian. It was good.
Yeah,
I liked it too. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well done, Brian.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I had some really great chat too, and lots of great requests.
Yeah, I think my Gretchen tuned into Brian's thing, and she was thrilled to see it, and I think it's proper. Brian probably spent them a good deal of time with the whole presentation as a whole. Where some of myself anyway is like, it was more of like, come out and meet me on the driveway with a beer type of thing. It's a lot more casual than what Brian had planned, but his was a lot richer program. So for live people, I think that's almost our gold standard to look at. And I'm glad we recorded it, because that way we can see, hey, this has worked. This really worked well. So it gives us a good example to follow. And so kudos goes up to Brian for that.
I'm also happy to help people get up to speed with OBS, because that's the key right there. OBS.
As an aside, I figured out some stuff in their scenes and sources thing for our lowbrow meetings. It's going to look a lot more polished and presentable. So, and Brian gave me tips on that stuff. So I appreciate the tips, but he's right. OBS is a thing. However, as miraculous as it is, it doesn't. I don't think it's something we want to have every presenter dive into.
No,
Zoom.
no. It's not easy, but it anyhow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we can do if we have the time to plan ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just making the point that it's like for a presenter, I mean, with the lowbrows, I basically capture a screen of whatever people are presenting on Zoom, and then I OBS it out. And we could have people sitting in the wings, paired up with events and acting as basically production people in the background. There's no reason we couldn't do something like that, but it requires a lot more computing activity going on that night, and live feeds, bandwidth, the whole kit and caboodle. So, but anyway, yeah, I have it a to send out the poll. Moving on to the next agenda item is the corporation and bank status. I guess I'll hand it to John and Adrian on that front.
Well, we have both our Michigan entity identification number, and we have our federal tax ID number now.
Okay.
Adrian and I are going to establish the bank account at Comerica, and then we will implement transferring the GLAAC funds from the Warren Group to the GLAAC account at Comerica. And I have initiated work on the 503c3. That's going to take a lot of paperwork and probably more money.
What do you mean more money?
Documents and was $50, and getting the tax ID was $247. So we'll be doing something with that treasury once we get it.
Once we can pay stuff.
And Jeff, you have a considerable number of reimbursements to do, and if other people,
I would.
They have reimbursements to take action on.
Yeah. Well,
I will be setting up our books, probably using an application called New Cash. That's GNU Cash. It's very good software for small organizations and nonprofits. It does most of the bookkeeping for you, and I have an experienced bookkeeper checking into that for me to make sure that that's going to work, but it's been recommended by other people. So we're moving along with that.
Good.
Now, as far as the treasury is concerned, once we have a treasury and an active organization and a treasury, then that makes membership on the board, the established membership on the board, and compliance with the bylaws more important. So that's something else to pursue. I know we've had some inquiries about expanding the membership in the GLAAC beyond just this corner of Michigan, and that could become quite controversial.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if we have the way it is, according to our bylaws and the charter and the bylaws, we expect every club in GLAAC to supply us with a delegate who will be part of the board. That's what's expected of the member organizations. We need to pursue that to make sure we have a participating delegate from each club. And if we start expanding the clubs in the organization, we have more delegates, we have more votes, and we have less. It's possible that we could dilute the Southeastern Michigan membership in the club. Our focus is on the astronomy at the beach, the live event, which is our goal to resume. I think expanding, and this is just parenthetically, but I think expanding the participation in the organization, delegate participation in the organization beyond southeastern Michigan has the potential to become troublesome and confusing. I like the organization the way it is, and I think that by promoting participation more assiduously, we can become even better. That's my 2 cents worth regarding the establishment, the charter, the establishment, bookkeeping, and operations.
Okay. Yeah, I actually, I never dove into the bylaws that deeply, but the delegate from each club,
So
been a little
I-
loose this year, I guess.
I want to clarify that the clubs are supposed to provide a delegate to the planning committee, not the board.
Okay.
That's
And in the past, we considered anyone who is a member of the groups.io to be on the planning committee. You did not have to participate in the meetings to be part of the planning committee. You did have to participate in the planning meetings to be eligible to run for a board position.
true. I found that to be perhaps somewhat vague, and I'll look into that further, Shannon. It is true that the voting character of different positions in the organization varies. The members of the board, which again is that is defined here, but right now we have, for instance, I will be serving as the vice president and the treasurer. That's really not up to snuff. So that's something that I'll get into, and I'll try to contribute more to the board about that. And I am concerned about making sure that we have an active delegate from each club participating with us. That's something for future operations.
I think when we dive into the planning for, I guess, for 2021, when we meet in January, that's when we can start pushing the clubs. Is like, hey, you know, for the planning, we really would love, I mean, our bylaws say that you should have a delegate. You should try to, you know, send somebody so that you get your voice in this whole thing, because you're being called upon as well. That's probably a good time to do that, is when we start the planning actions again.
Very good.
I guess that I have anybody have any more on the financial side of things? Questions for John or Adrian on that?
I just want
Nope.
to add, Jeff,
Hopefully people are seeing my chat.
Oh no, we're ignoring it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Add that,
Sorry, John, I jumped all over you. Go ahead.
Okay, excuse me, but I just want to add that as I make progress on these financial operations and getting the books established, I will keep everyone. I'll go through you, Jeff, to make sure that people are informed of what's going on and how the club looks from my end.
Okay. Okay. I just was, I'm not sure. I was reading Adrian's comments, but okay.
So Lake Hudson, probably not. I figured the rest of the board might vote that down, but the comments were thoughts that I had while I was listening, you know, in between shots. So, you know, hang on a second. We need all the balls we can get. Okay, sorry, I had to make that comment. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a lot of that covered. I would just suggest anything that was wildly successful that we consider redoing that for if we do a virtual event. Make sure that those are the first things that we look to redo. So planning definitely next year. And for my part, I'm keeping my eye on how COVID, you know, how that progresses,
Yeah.
because that's kind of important. I mean, that dictates to us what we can do. I would like to see, hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see a hybrid of it if we could pull it off, but it has to be safe. It really has to be safe. But, you know, if we can get folks outside, that would be good. You know, maybe we discuss how we can possibly do that.
Well, and
So I'm going to go back on mute because I know there's a lot of noise behind me.
yeah, I think it's fair to say that we're probably, given the response and the positive respects of the online thing, there's probably going to be, you know, an online component regardless of whether it's live or not. COVID's going to dictate whether we do, you know, a live portion or not, but it seems like the online, there's going to be some component there. That's what it appears to me. Obviously, the planning next year will probably dictate how that's going to go down. Maybe there isn't people to run it or whatever it might be. But yeah. Planning, yes, I'm looking to see where we are in here. The groups.io list, it came to my point is like, is that for anyone who's, do we have an events list, like an AATB group IO list, or is I mean, I'm kind of like, what's the purpose of the group IO list and what was that originally established for?
Groups.io was supposed to be the planning committee, so that and then the board would have a sub email. So the board email is supposed to be for the things that need short turnaround or
Right.
only need the board members. And then the groups.io was supposed to be the broader planning committee.
Okay.
And we've never had an events list because we've never had the bandwidth to have someone manage an events list or the money to pay for a list manager.
So groups.io is for the planning, the AATB planning generally. And then the M community group is for the board. Okay.
That's how it was set up. If you guys want to change it, you know, hey,
Well,
change away.
Well, I've gotten a couple of inquiries, and the first one I put on there without too much thought, and the second one is like, well, it got some pushback. I don't know if it's from you or somebody else, but it's like it got me thinking, well, I don't really know what that's for. So that's why this is in there, just to clarify what those things are for. And I'm just going to say no events list due to list management. And maybe this is something that, you know, either, what is it, not, oh, there's one of those message, it was, it's Monkey something. It's not Survey Monkey. MailChimp. It has an opt-in, opt-out mechanism.
MailChimp would be a good one.
Yeah. We've used that here for Gretchen's Bakery, and it works really well, and it doesn't require a whole lot of management. And maybe we'll look into that MailChimp, because I think that's still free if I'm not mistaken. We like free services.
There's some limit, and I can't remember what it was. And it wasn't around like 3 or 4 years ago when I had time to really research this stuff.
I think it's either 2,000 or 3,000. I don't recall, but I can look into that. That'll be on my to-do list. Because I think that would be a valuable, I mean, if we have a Facebook page, that's great, but it would be great to have a mailing list for, you know, general announcements, some kind of conduit via email. I mean, our demographics say that we're older, and older people use email. So that is what it is. And I'd like to have that avenue open. Email's asynchronous.
If you can find a service that integrates texting, that would get you the younger people.
Yeah.
Crazy though that is.
And MailChimp might be able to do that too. I haven't really looked at it recently, so. And last but not least, what's our next meeting? Are we taking a November, December off? Or are we looking at January, November? I mean, actually January, I don't know what I've got here.
I approve of the idea of taking November off. December.
I was thinking December off
I-
because it's the holidays.
What do you think, Shannon?
I think you need to have a December meeting to accept nominations for officers. But you could have a December meeting that is only accepting nominations for officers, and you can accept
Okay.
them over email as well.
That sounds like a good plan. I like giving us all November off.
Okay.
That works great, especially if I'm going to be doing 2 or 3 different activities at the same time. December, we accept the nominations and we go from there. I like that plan. My name is
December 9th.
Adrian Bradley and I approve of that plan. Are there any other dissenters?
That says December 9th is that will be our next meeting if that's true. Is
I'm
Any
with that. Any objections?
No, no.
Didn't think there would be. All right. Gavel goes down.
okay? I'm just going to put it as unanimous.
December 9th is a Wednesday.
Did I get the date? No, I have it as, ooh, that's 2021. Sorry.
December
10th.
is the WASP banquet.
So that's even better because we won't miss the WAS banquet being online. So yeah, even better.
Is that December 10th, Bob?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Thursday, December 10th at
Thursday, December 10th is the WAS banquet. I got
Yep.
that wrong. What time does the banquet start, Bob?
7 p.m.
Do we want to?
You want to go to the December
Hang
3rd?
on, you're hearing some bowling stuff. Or go 6 p. I don't know if we want to go 6 to 6:30 p.m.
No.
ahead of the banquet. If we want to keep it on Thursday.
No, let's perhaps go to the 3rd.
Why don't we
Could work.
say December 3rd? I mean,
Be short meeting. That's good.
All right, I have to go
7
on mute
p.m.?
and bowl. Whatever you guys decide, I'm good with.
7 p.m. sound okay?
Yep.
Good with me.
Okay. I'm just going to put that in as decided. December 3rd, 7 p.m. Same bat time and channel, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. now
Go ahead, John.
well, that means that we have to announce that there will be a meeting for the nomination of officers to the various clubs.
That is correct. And I do have put that as nominations for 2021 officers. And announcement out to clubs.
I believe the bylaws allow people to email the president and vice president their nominations as well. So they don't have to be present at the meeting to make a nomination.
Okay.
Now, let's see. All right. It says in the bylaws, nominations will be taken by the president, starting at meeting of the planning committee that follows the AATB event. So that would be December. Nominations continue up through the first planning meeting of the next calendar year.
Which is
which would
probably
be January.
like January 14th, I think it was. Yeah, January 14th. If we're doing second Thursdays, I assume
Now,
that's gonna
also
stay.
in the bylaws, this is something important to note. Eligibility to run for elected board position is determined by being a member in good standing of one of the member bodies and an active participant in the planning committee the year prior to the election. Active participation is determined if said person attends at least 60% of the GLAAC planning meetings and assumes a role in the previously mentioned event planning.
Wow, 2020 was a real mess, wasn't it?
Yeah, we voted to suspend those laws for the 2020 year because we didn't have anyone who'd been an active participant who was willing to be on the board.
That's okay. It worked out for the best.
Well, I think that that's a very important thing though, because
It is.
it does mean that people that want to run for the board have to be already on board with the club. And
That was our idea when we wrote it.
yeah, yeah. That's
Well,
very good.
I mean, we got people like Liam and Tim Campbell, obviously the current board, Mike Ryan here, Bob. I mean, that's our collections of people, and including the current board and whatnot. So
Yeah,
we do have a pool that follows the bylaws, but I mean, in January, you can just say, hey, if we don't have enough, then we need people. That's just plain and simple.
Well, I'm not planning to run away, and doesn't sound like you are, Jeff.
You guys aren't going to let me. There's going to be a string on, just know it.
Please don't go. Please don't go.
No, once I get
No,
on
it's
board
fine.
with something, I tend to stay with it, and I think Adrian will do likewise. So,
Oh, he
and Brian,
loves the spotlight.
well, Brian,
Are you kidding?
I was
If
thinking
somebody
all along.
wants to run this, I will let them, and I will take a role in the back watering the plants for GLAAC.
Okay,
That
well,
works for me.
Let's leave that up for the future, but we have people involved, and then people need to know about that provision in the bylaws about someone being, having been active on the planning committee the previous year.
Right. Well, we can, I mean, that's the intention.
I'm
If it doesn't work
just so
out,
you know,
thank
I'm nominating every single one of you for president. So just so that you guys know, you can decline if you want.
If nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
All right, you're out of it. Anyone else want to decline?
Yeah, me.
Okay, Big Telescopes, Mike, you're declining. Jeff, you declined a long time ago.
Yeah,
And-
you're lucky you got me here, and I think I'm more effective as a secretary anyway.
And,
Yeah,
and
well-
I will nominate myself for the position of vice president, because the bylaw doesn't say I can't. So
Well, then
anyway,
you can put it in the record. I know we've got a couple meetings to do that, but yeah, I actually do see the benefits of a board continuity. So with that in mind, we'll be going into the December meeting, make sure schedules are good and plan on seeing if we can keep this thing going.
Well, but my concern is that we keep people on the planning committee. We had a very good planning committee. We had really good participation from important people with a lot of input. And I want to keep those people on board.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
So is I.
Yeah, Bob.
Second that.
And a lot of
No,
There shall be no change in that. I'm decreeing as president that Bob's going nowhere. Sorry, Bob. All right, I got to get back on
anyway,
mute.
I think we're starting to get off the rails. We're a little here.
Yeah, this has been important stuff, Jeff, but it's time to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at the end of my agenda looking for a motion to adjourn.
I really, I move for adjournment. It's really great to see all you folks again, and I can't tell you just what a great job you've done. I'm kind of the tail end of this organization as far as getting things done. You guys have been great. You've just been great. It's super to work with you.
I stand by that. This is a team success here. Nothing would have happened as well as it did without everybody doing their part and playing a part in it. John, you're not the tail end, because you got all of our business stuff straightened around from the non-existent cloudly status that it was in before. So that's significant moving forward. I mean, I can't get reimbursed until we get the stuff done that you had going. So
Okay.
there's that kind of thing. And I am going to repeat to everybody, if you had bills, save the receipts until the accounts get created, and everything will be settled out in the end. I know we have a balance. It's just a matter of getting the paperwork and stuff done there. So I'm not concerned personally, but hang on to those receipts, and I'm sure John will figure it all out for us.
We will. We will.
So,
Okay.
John motioned to adjourn. I seconded it. Anybody care to object? Otherwise, we got unanimous.
See you in December.
Yes.
I'm crashing. Night all.
All
Have a
right.
great weekend,
See
guys.
y'all in December. Have a good one.
December 3rd, 7 p.m. And stop the recording.
All right, the meeting ended without me saying meeting adjourned.
Yeah, we did it without
That is-
you, Bozo.
Yeah, I just went up and rolled a spare,
Good.
and my rival left a 10 pin. Here, I'll show you. Let's see.